Hey everyone, Mr. MC here. This is a guide for round 4 of the 2021 FIA Manufacturer Series taking place at Blue Moon Bay Infield A with the Group 3 cars. Just a quick note, when you're about to start your very first time trial or qualifying time, you can bring yourself all the way to the right to build up a bit more speed to get a faster start to your new lap. And I have the brake balance at +2 or 2 to the rear to try to get the understeer USS Dodge Viper to rotate a bit more through these tight turns. So your first braking point is just before you reach this sign that is on the right. Brake hard for a short moment and ease off of the brakes just as you start to turn in. You don't want to carry too much speed as you reach the end of the bank turn, as the car will bounce around and mess you up. And you want to go for somewhat of a late apex, so around halfway or past halfway through the curb on the left. That's where you want to start to fully accelerate. And the first turn is a turn that you want to watch out for because it's pretty easy to be inconsistent. Your next braking point, just after you pass the 100 meter board, and you only want to use just a little bit of braking, take advantage of the curb that is on the left. Carefully accelerate, and just after you pass the second to last light pole that is on the left, you want to use a little bit more braking, take full advantage of the curb, and slowly accelerate. Bring yourself towards the left and look for the 100 meter board just before the shadow of the bridge ends, and that is your next braking point. So brake hard for a while, just bring yourself into the inside of the turn, slowly ease off of the brakes and carefully accelerate. Bring yourself towards your right and brake before the curb on the right ends. And you want to follow this little path that is laid out by the tire marks, as it pretty much gives you the racing line. Just be nice and careful on the throttle and look for the start of the curb that is on the right, as you want to start to turn in just after it starts. Lift off of the throttle, use a little bit of braking if necessary, and take full advantage of the curb. Carefully get on the throttle so you don't hit the wall that is on the right. Bring yourself all the way to the inside of the turn, so towards the left side of the track, and you are pretty much good to go. So that is all for the lap guide. Let's finish up this lap and take a look at the strategies. Oh hey, the internet's finally stable enough, and let's go ahead and take advantage of it. So for the qualifying session, you have 5 minutes to try to get a good qualifying time. So for this session, if you were to do one long qualifying stint, you'll have 3 to 4 chances to try to get the best qualifying time possible. So the moment that you gain control of your car, you pretty much just want to push right away because the tire wear rate is at ×1. So tire wear, not an issue at all. And you pretty much want to be precise through these turns, because even making just a little bit of a small mistake through any of these turns can cost you quite a bit of time and potentially cost you a position or even multiple positions. Another thing that you might see is that when people are about to start their first qualifying lap, they may bring themselves all the way to the right side of the track, like how I am, to try to build up a bit more speed to get a faster start to their first qualifying lap. Slipstream will be useful here, especially on the oval section of the track because it is all flat out. And by being undersold in Slipstream, you can gain a couple of tenths of a second just by being undersold in Slipstream. So whenever you're within the 3/4 of a second range behind someone as you're starting a new qualifying lap or ending your qualifying lap, you'll be going a bit faster in the Slipstream, which means that you'll be shaving off a bit of time. Just be careful if you are undersold in Slipstream in qualifying or in the race, because you're going to be going a little bit faster, which means that you need a larger braking distance to be able to make the turn. So for the first turn and then for the hairpins, you want to be a little more careful in the Slipstream because you're going a bit faster, so you need to brake a little bit earlier. So let's say that you finished a qualifying lap and you want to get a new set of tires, or you messed up and you want to start over. What you can do is you can press options, which I'll do in a moment. Then you press exit. There we go. So we press options, go ahead and press exit. You'll go to the menu, and in the lobby, so you can press enter course, or during the actual FIA race itself, that button will be called qualifying. You press that. You'll spawn in the pit box with a new set of tires, and you can pretty much just do an out lap and then start your next qualifying stint. Just be aware that you want to make sure you have enough time in your outlap to be able to cross the line before the first countdown hits 0. Because if you're in your outlap and you start a new lap just as that first countdown hits 0 or the second countdown starts, then you're pretty much out of time and you're out of luck. So at the end of the day, if you do one long qualifying stint, you'll have 3 to 4 chances to try to get the best qualifying time possible and make use of the slipstream on the oval section of the track. And let's go on over to the race section of the guide. So we are doing 28 laps at Blue Moon Bay Infield A with the Group 3 cars. We only have the racing medium tires to work with, so there's no sort of tire requirement. Fuel is a ×2. Fuel is obviously not an issue. Tire wear ×1. Tire wear super obviously not an issue, so this is a pretty straightforward sprint race where you don't have to worry about fuel or tires. You pretty much just go all out from the moment that you gain control of your car, so pretty much the moment the race starts. And just be careful on your first 1 to 2 laps because your tires are going to be cold, so they're not going to be providing all the grip just yet. Just be a little gentle, and after say 1 to 2 laps, your tires should be up to temperature and they should be providing you with the grip that you need. And also you want to be careful when you go through turn 1 because if you enter it too aggressively, basically carrying too much speed, then you risk having the car bounce around a bit, which can really mess you up for your way through turn 1. So over here, the car bounced a bit, which caused me to have massive understeer, and that pretty much set up the Mercedes to be able to easily pass me. So you want to be careful through turn 1. Just slow yourself down just enough so the car doesn't have the risk of bouncing around. And another thing I want to note is the brake balance. So because tire wear is not an issue for this race, you can pretty much be a lot more flexible with the brake balance that you want for yourself that will suit your car, your driving style and needs. So for example, with me, I'm in the USS Dodge Viper. It's pretty understeery through the more technical parts of the track, which is pretty much the non-oval parts of the track. So I have the brake balance at +2 in the Viper to try to get the rear of the car to rotate a bit more through some of the twistier parts of the track. So you can pretty much experiment around with the brake balance that you want that will suit you the best. So let's say the car is a bit too understeery through some of these turns. You can move the brake balance a bit more towards the rear of the car to try to get the rear of the car to rotate a bit more through the turns. Or if the car is a bit too squirmy through the braking, trying to make it through these turns, then you can move the brake balance towards 0 or towards the front of the car to try to stabilize the car a bit more. But be aware that by moving the brake balance towards the front of the car, that can potentially make your car a bit more understeery. So if you have the time, definitely experiment around with the brake balance because tire wear is not an issue, so you can freely adjust the brake balance to a setting that will suit your car and your needs. Slipstream, once again, it's a pretty big thing in this race, especially in the oval section of the track, so you're probably going to see a bit of bump drafting happening, which is what I was doing up until I was about to reach the braking point for turn 1. So you can use the slipstream to try to work with other cars to try to break away from those behind you or to even try to catch up to those ahead of you. And pretty much the main goal of this race is to try to keep up in the slipstream of the first pack of cars because once they break away, then it's going to be a lot harder to catch up to them. So teamwork makes the meme work. And let's take a quick look at the tire wear and fuel situation. So if you look on the bottom left hand corner of the screen, tire wear, fuel, obviously not an issue. And then we'll quickly take a look towards the end of the race where tire wear is still not an issue. I still have the brake balance at +2 or 2 to the rear to try to get this boat of car to rotate through the twisty parts of the track. Fuel, I think it's around 20% of fuel left, so fuel is obviously not an issue at all. And this race is a bit of a long one. It's a little over 31 minutes long, so you'll have plenty of time to try to think up of any moves that you want to make. So basically the race is not won at turn 1, you know, we've all heard that before. So take your time, just try to make your way through the pack of cars, try to take advantage of the slipstream to try to work with those around you and to break away from those behind you. So after a long race with some good racing going on between myself and Thundernux, I ended up finishing with a 31 minutes and 38 seconds. So let's go ahead and talk about places to overtake and the penalty serving zone. So the oval part of the track, pretty much the main straight, is going to be the best place to go for an overtake, especially with the use of Slipstream. You can take full advantage of it to try to set yourself up for an overtake. Just try to position yourself just right so you can be able to take turn 1 without any issues. And because turn 1, or the entry to turn 1, is pretty wide, there are multiple lines, so do assume that for turn 1 that people will try to go for a dive. And after that, it's pretty much going to be a single file line, pretty dangerous to try to go for a move over here through turns 2, 3, and 4. And then here is a smaller back straight where it is pretty much going to be the last place, or the last best place, to go for an overtake leading up to the hairpins. After that, it's pretty much going to be very situational, so if a car got a really bad exit through the first hairpin, you can try to go for an overtake into the second hairpin, and be very careful trying to go for a pass through this second to last turn, because this turn, it's a little narrow, and if you go too wide, you risk losing a lot of time, or worse yet, get into an incident with each other and the wall. And the penalty serving zone is hanging out just after turn 4, so the smaller back straight. The penalty serving zone is hanging out right here, and this is the only penalty serving zone here at Blue Moon Bay Infield A. So once again, this is pretty much a zero stop race, and definitely take advantage of the Slipstream to work with those around you and to set yourself up for some clean overtakes. And if you have the time, adjust the brake balance to a setting that will suit you and the car well, because tire wear is not an issue, so you can be a bit more flexible with the brake balance settings. At least have it something to where it makes the car feel good to drive. But that is pretty much it from me. If this guide helps, you can press the like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I do have a membership program thing in the description down below. Feel free to check it out. But that's all from me. I'm going to sign off now. So this is Mr. CA. Wish you a good race, and I'll see you in the next video.